Hey class, Absolute 5 here, and today we're going to talk about dividing decimals. Okay, let's get right into it. Dividing decimals. Okay, so dividing decimals, let's start off with an example. We have 270.2 divided by 7. So, bit of advice is whenever you're dividing with decimals, you need to rewrite it the long division way because trying to do it this way, it's horizontally. I have no idea. I have no idea how would I do that horizontally. So let's rewrite this again as 7 into 270.2. Okay. So now remember, whenever you're doing long division, you have to take each number's place value and check whether or not can that number divide. Especially when you're dealing with decimals, you definitely need to check that. So when I say 7 divides into 2, I cannot. So I skip that one and I go to 7 tries to divide to 27. It can do it 3 times because 7 times 3 will give me 21. I subtract, I get 6. I bring down the 0. 7 tries to divide into 60. How many times? 8 times because that'll give me 56. I subtract here, I borrow from the 6, 1 for the 0, so then I get 4 because these 5 cancel out, so that's why I don't write that down. Now, this is probably the most very important parts to keep in mind. Whenever you divide in long division like this, especially with decimals, as soon as you approach this decimal point here, right as you're trying to bring down the last 2 down, you immediately put a decimal on top in your quotient, because if you do not, you're going to try spending hours figuring out where does this decimal actually go, which you don't want to do. So before you finish this off, do that first. I emphasize that. Bring down this 2, 2. Then 7 divides into 42 6 times perfectly. So then I just subtract, get 0, and that's my answer. So my answer is 38.6 after I've multiplied that out. So what's the process of this? So let's write this down. I don't actually have my notes to actually explain this correctly. So I'm going to use layman's terms to explain the process. So, oh my goodness, okay. Oh my goodness. Can I just write? Okay. Oh my goodness. Why does that keep happening? I make you smaller. I should be small if anything. Anyway. Dividing decimals. So what can I say? When you are dividing decimals, treat it as though you are dividing whole numbers, and keep in mind that as soon as you reach the decimal point in the dividend, you put the decimal point in the quotient. So let's do another example. Let's say I have 32 into, make that a little smaller. 32 into 8.32. Okay, so remember, you always check the place value first, okay? So you always check the place value first. And according to what I said, so you treat it as if you were dividing whole numbers. So 32 tries to divide into 8. It cannot. So in this case, now some people, now I know I said skip it. What I mean by skip it, when we're in the last example, let me go back up real quick. What do I mean by skip it? So you see the first three numbers here, 700, 270, excuse me. We're dealing with whole numbers in that specific part of the problem there. Now, same thing for 32 into 8, but since I know 32 cannot divide into 8, I have to put a 0 there. That's very important because I approached the decimal point. So then I have to put the decimal point there. Reason for this is because if I don't put the decimal point there, I'm going to then divide this number as if it were a whole number and not figure out where I'd put that decimal point. Okay. So I have to multiply 32 times 2 because that would give me 64. Why am I doing that? Because I'm no longer looking at 8. I'm looking at 83 as the number I'm trying to divide. Okay? So then now I subtract. I have to borrow 1 from the 7. So I get 13 minus 4. I get 9. And 7 minus 6 gives me 1. I finally bring down the 2. And then I have to kind of figure out, 32 times what number will give me 192? So let's say I take a guess, 32 times 5. Let's just see where we are. I like using 5 because it's right in the middle of 10. So then you can work your way up or work your way down when you're trying to multiply. Anyway, 2 times 5 is 10. 5 times 3 is 15. Add 1 is 16. I think I could just add one more to that. 32 times 6. I'm just verifying. 32 times 6 will give me 12. 6 times 3 is 18. Add one more, 19. It divides perfectly. So remember the process. As soon as you approach that decimal point, you have to put the decimal point. So inside here is the dividend. Don't forget that. That's the dividend, and outside is the quotient. Don't forget that that's the quotient. So that's very key to remember whenever you're... I'm just moving this out of the way. Remember, when you're dividing whole numbers into decimals, you have to put the point before you continue on with your quotient, because you will get it confused and you'll be very upset later because you'll get it wrong. All right, let's do one more example. Let's say I divide 115 into negative, well, if I'm putting negative, I'm put the negative on top here. Negative 5.98. Reason being is because, well, the problem will look like this. Negative 5.98 divided by 115. That would be the problem, but I'm just rewriting it just to save time, okay? 115 into 5.98. All right. Now, can 115 go into 5? No. Put a 0. Put a decimal point there before I even move on to the next place value. So I'm looking at, can 5 divide into 59? No. So I add another 0. Can 115, I meant to say 115, not 5, sorry. 115 divided into 598? Yes, it can. How many times? We have to take a guess. I'm going to use my favorite number, 5, to take a guess. 5 times 1, 5. Add 2 more, 7. 555. 575, excuse me. I subtract, I get 3, 2. Now I add one more 0 here. So a rule of thumb for me is I don't continuously divide decimals until I reach an answer, because that will take forever. For me, my rule of thumb is I only go up to 3 decimal places and I stop, because I'm just gonna end up wasting the entire day. I have better things to do than that. Anyway, seeing that I have 230 left to divide, I'm going to take 115 times 2, and I get 230 as my answer. 230. So my answer is negative 0.005. Sorry, negative 0.00. I can't say it right. Negative 0.052 as my answer. And for homework, just for fun, I want you to divide 8 into 370.4. So leave your answers down in the comments down below. So that's the lesson for you guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Mash that bell button for more content. And I will see you guys next time with another video. This has been Absolute 5. I'm Roger Palomino. Math is infinite because there are infinitely many possibilities. And don't forget, don't hate, calculate.